welcome back to the channel Lost Legends TV. This is Ray, and today we're not talking about Jason Voorhees. We're not talking about Pamela Voorhees, but we are talking about Friday the 13th, and more so of Roy Burns himself. Now, this is not going to be a Friday the 13th Part 5, the New Beginning review. This is not a review video. I want to get that across very clear. This is not a review video. I want to touch on some things I feel like are highly overlooked. Some good things, some bad things. Me personally, I think Friday the 13th Part 5 is highly underrated. No, it's not my top 5. There is a lot more to the picture than I feel like people are open to discuss. People are so quick to trash this movie, but I love the movie, and I respect everybody's opinion. But my opinion is, did it have Jason? No. But there are major impacting elements in this movie. So the film takes place about 5 years after the events of Part 4. We all know this. Tommy Jarvis had been recasted. John Shepherd takes the role, and I feel like he does an amazing job. Jason Voorhees in the hallucination scene when Tom Morgan played him, I feel like he looks fucking great. He's still built, he's stocky, he's scary, and I just wish we had so much more of that Jason. This film in itself has my favorite soundtrack of the entire franchise, especially that fucking theme they play inside of that Tommy's nightmare sequence in the beginning when Jason arises out of the grave. I mean, this is like classic cinema at its finest. And I mean that in the sense if way back in the day you was in a movie theater and you're like, oh my God, Jason's back, this is awesome. And especially when you got the Corey Feldman, Tommy Jarvis cameo in there. There is a ton of things good about this movie. Mr. Roy Burns here putting in the work. I mean, hell, up until this point, Roy Burns had killed more people than Jason and Pamela in the franchise. I mean, that's got to count for something. But the biggest problem I feel like nobody really talks about, like openly, or at least they don't talk about in depth, is how flawed the plot is. Roy Burns is not taking revenge after Victor, which is the one who killed Joey, which turns out to be Roy's son, is I feel like kind of idiotic. It's not plausible in my opinion. If I was in the Roy Burns shoes, I would go after Vic, who murdered my son, and get my revenge. Now maybe, and I'm just speculating here, maybe Roy just wanted to kill everybody who had something to do with it because maybe he didn't know the full story. And maybe Victor, or Vic, was supposed to be his last victim. Now that's plausible if you wanted to throw that in there. Maybe he just didn't make it to his final target. Now do 16 other victims have to suffer because of what Vic did? Hell, maybe. We don't make the rules. Roy makes the rules. Another thing I want to touch on is how people debate on whether Part 5 is even canon or not. I fully believe that this movie is canon. There is a lot to this movie that adds to the lore of Friday the 13th. Like one debate I hear nobody talking about is in Part 6, Tommy Jarvis driving Pam's truck in Part 5. That can be argued. Now I believe if you break it down, the trucks look very similar. I think in real life they're like 1 year apart and there's slight alterations and they're slightly miscolored. Pam's is dark blue and I think the other one's like a more turquoise color. But again, that can be all up to the color grade. Now I'm not sure if you guys count novelizations on being canon. I do like how novelizations add to the story because I can have these novelizations and just any extra detail I can pull into these movies, I really enjoy. So if you guys don't know about this, in the novelization of Part 6, it is stated that at the end of Part 5, when Tommy shatters that window with his chair, when he's in the hospital, and he puts on the old Roy Burns mask, and we see that he's about to attack Pam, that she was able to talk him out of it. Now we know what the situation is. Originally, Tommy Jarvis was supposed to be the new killer. They was doing the whole Halloween 4 ending where Jamie was supposed to be the new killer. Am I opposed to that? Honestly, not really. I'm really not. It would have been different for sure, but I'm not gonna close it off to be like, oh my God, that should have never happened. But in the Part 6 novelization, it is stated that Pam was able to pull Tommy out of this trance. And that can be argued about more lore in the sense of Jason's spirit being able to possess people like Jason Goes to Hell. I mean, there's all kinds of tie-ins to this movie that I just feel like people put to rest too soon. And I know Part 5 is just kind of like the ugly stepchild. It's the outcast of the franchise, but I still do enjoy it like 100%. Fun fact, me and James had written a treatment for a direct sequel to Part 5. I'm not gonna go into any details about it because I'm hoping one day that we make this film. Friday the 13th Part 5 contributes more to the franchise than most people look into, and it is a big what if, because I love listening to the debates. It is canon, it is not canon. Roy should have did this, Roy is stupid for doing that, Roy is smart for doing this, Roy is powerful, Roy is stupid. This movie is stupid, this movie is lame, this movie is awesome. I love it all. I love to take it all in, hear people's opinions on it. But yeah, me personally, I love this fucking movie. I really do. It is one of the biggest what ifs in the franchise. And a lot of people say this movie doesn't make sense, but let's be real. The whole timeline doesn't make sense. Perfect example is Friday the 13th Part 1 to 2, how Jason just fully grows into a man. And of course, that can be explained with a theory. Chris's hallucination dream at the end of 3. Is that canon? Probably not. It's probably just a hallucination, but that can be backed up with a theory. Part 4 where Tommy Jarvis has that death stare, was that foreshadowing for Part 5? That can be backed up with a theory. When Chris says she got attacked by Jason, like way before this even took place, even though Part 2, 3, and 4 take place in like a weekend, how can you back that up? Of course, a theory. There are many plot holes in the Friday the 13th franchise, but at the same time, I feel like that's what makes this franchise fun to watch. To theorize. It kind of gives the audience creative direction to drive the direction that they want. I feel like Part 5 could have went somewhere, but it just got laid to rest by Jason Lives. And of course, I would always pick Jason Voorhees above Roy. I just wish we had another chapter to Part 5 because I feel like it's just highly underrated. And it's also open to discussion about just theories upon theories upon theories. Some fans think that Roy was possessed by Jason's spirit. After Roy died, some people think that Tommy Jarvis was possessed by Jason's spirit. It's just fun to theorize. Another big what if is that people theorize that Roy Burns is Jason's father, and people will just back that up to this day. And hey, if you have a good theory about that, I will listen to it all day. Me personally, I just don't think it's plausible. But they can really go a whole supernatural direction with this. I don't think that Friday the 13th Part 8 and 9 is even canon to the rest of the series. That's just my opinion. But if you do count it, then you can probably argue that Jason is a Deadite, because in Jason Goes to Hell, we find out that there's a Necronomicon in the Voorhees house. So is Jason supernaturally possessing Roy? Is he gonna do it with anybody else in the franchise? The possibilities are endless. Another big what if about Friday the 13th Part 5, the sheriff states that Jason's body was cremated. Now, this can be chalked up to be just a rumor to set the townspeople to rest, to make sure this borderline supernatural killer doesn't come back for another reign of terror. But the officer is talking to another officer. Why would he have to worry about the rumors getting out if they're just lawmen talking to each other? Why would an officer of the law lie to another officer of the law about Jason being cremated? Well, we know Jason wasn't cremated because we had Part 6 where Tommy Jarvis comes and digs up Jason's body. So is Part 5 canon? I don't know. It could be. I think so. I think it is. Some people love this movie, some people hate this movie. Me, myself, I would like to see where these characters went. I would like to see what happened to Vic after he found out everything that happened. I would like to see what happened to Reggie when he survived this massacre. I would like to see what happened to Pam. And I would just like to see what happened to this version of Tommy. And I know they're all one main canon character, but I do feel like John Shepard, when he played Tommy Jarvis, is so underrated when he played Tommy Jarvis. You can just feel the desperation in his mind. You can feel the anger. And he whooped so much ass in that movie. He portrays the delusion so well. And honestly, I'll say it again, the hallucination Jason we see when Tommy's hallucinating, played by Tom Morga, I wish we had a movie of that because Jason looked so fucking good. I was like, damn, this is almost orgasmic. But yeah, that's gonna chop this video up. There's a lot more to Part 5 than just the movie. There are tons of theories, there are tons of what ifs, and all in all, I just wanted to make a quick little video about my thoughts about Friday the 13th Part 5, The New Beginning. Thank you guys so much for watching. Just gonna wrap this up. I do appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to kick it with me. I really do appreciate it. Love all you guys. Until next time, adios.